Hey everyone, it's Kate from Sleep Time Consulting. Welcome to day one. I will be completely honest here. I recorded this earlier live at 1 o'clock, but I got the screen all messed up, and I think you could just see the people who joined on the Google Meet. So I'm doing it again. So if you are joining me live on Facebook, thank you very much. And I'm sorry if anyone joined and it wasn't a great performance earlier. It was great content, I'm sure, but I didn't quite manage to do the tech thing. So I'm going to record this now so I can send it out to everyone. And if you're on Facebook, you can see me rather than the people who are watching. So let's start. So yeah, quick intro about the week. So welcome to Free Sleep School. This is so exciting. I've been planning it for ages, and I'm very excited for it to be happening. We will be talking across the 5 days about all the key things you need to know. My aim is for you to understand what's going on with your little one's sleep and make the changes to get your sleep back on track. So please do let me know if I don't cover what you need, and if you need any help. Any questions gratefully received along the journey. I'll be checking in with all of those and helping you to understand more. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself. So my name's Kate Cohen and I've run Sleep Time Consulting for 5 years now. Gosh, I've helped thousands of families get their sleep back on track. That's what I do. I'm really passionate about sleep. We had so many issues with especially my second child actually, and it was all about the fact that we didn't really know what was going on. And so that's why my main aim with the work that I do is to help inform and tell people about sleep so they can help them sleep better, because I know how hard. In fact, I've slept really badly over the last few days, and I know in the morning that I'm kind of reaching for that coffee and do not feel great. So I hear you, I feel you. It's kind of really hard when you're sleep deprived. So let's get this going. Now, I will just say that across the week, we'll be doing the topics. Let me know if you don't get what you need from me. Inevitably, as you can imagine, after one of these weeks, it's often the case that lots of people want to get in touch. So if you're one of those people who's thinking about getting some help and you're a bit kind of confused, whether that's today or during the week, head on over to sleeptimeconsulting.co.uk. Fill out what is my waiting list form. It's really for you to tell me a little bit more about what's going on with your sleep. You can pick a package that might work for you, or you can pick just have a call and we can talk through what might be best. So I'm really happy to look at my diary and try and get some help booked in for you as well. So please don't hesitate to do so. But let's talk about sleep fundamentals. So the first thing I'll say is that you have to deal with things slightly differently, whether you've got a newborn, whether you've got a small baby, or you've got an older child. And so with newborns, we are very responsive. We're very much making sure that they are able to, that we're able to meet their needs. It's very kind of basic in the first few months, and we're talking up until about 4 months. So I would never really advise doing any kind of very strict routine or kind of any strict sleep training of any kind of sort. I'd be looking at good sleep habits. When it comes past that 4 month mark, it's really then about kind of routine and being consistent. And routine with a small r. I'm not super strict on it being to the dot, if you see what I mean. It's very much about creating a flexible framework, and we will talk more about that. And with older children, when it comes to talking to them about sleep, often they have more comprehension. So you can have a conversation, you can work with them on it all. But an overriding thought from a sort of a 4 month old onwards is really about consistency and making sure you're showing them this is how it's going to be. And you need to persevere sometimes. You can be responsive. This isn't about sort of crying or anything. Just being consistent about kind of your approach is really key. And that's one of the pitfalls I think people fall into, is that they try something for a little while and then suddenly it's not worked, so they move on to the next thing. So bear that in mind. Now, the thing I didn't know, here's a kind of a newsflash, thing I didn't know about sleep when my son was causing loads of problems was sleep cycles. So that's the first major thing I want to talk to you about. So a sleep cycle is the journey that your little one goes on when they go to sleep. We all go through it. Adults, we have an hour and a half sleep cycle. A newborn sleep cycle is fairly short. It's 30 to 35 minutes. It's really basic, only 2 parts, and they're quite easy to get into sleep, and they're quite easy to kind of pop out of sleep as well. But it's important that you understand that's the length of them. At the 4 month mark, the 4 month progression, we hit a kind of a sleep change, and that's when the sleep cycle elongates from about 35 minutes up to about 45. So 40 to 45 minutes. And the sleep cycle has 4 parts in it. They're different types of sleep, and it helps the brain to process things, it helps it to rest, it helps it to compartmentalize things. But the really important thing about a sleep cycle to just talk about now so you understand, as we go on the journey through the different stages of it, when we get to the end of the sleep cycle, this kind of moment of wakefulness, and it's not fully awake. It's like kind of, you can often, if you look at your monitor, if you have one, you can see a child sort of stirring a little bit at that point and then putting themselves back to sleep. And that's fundamentally the end of one sleep cycle and then going into the next one. That's what's happening there. So if you have a child that's waking quite frequently in the night that you're not happy with, or is taking short naps, it can be that that moment of wakefulness they're waking up fully from, and they can't get into the next sleep cycle. And when we look at why, we start to think about what could be causing them to wake. Now, in sleep terms, the first thing to check on that would be about understanding whether they needed any help to fall asleep. Did they have any external influence, which we call a sleep prop, that got them to go to sleep? So that could be, and in our case with my son, it was the fact that there was a parent in the room and he had a dummy to go to sleep. And so when he woke up at the end of his sleep cycle, that he was looking for us to be there or the dummy to be replaced to go back to sleep. Now, there are other things such as, let me list a few things off. You could have a light show happening in the room. You could be rocking your child. You could be feeding your child. You could be jiggling them up and down, patting, whatever it may be, singing to them. Now, if you're doing any of those things and you're okay with it, or your child sleeps well, you don't need to change it. I'm not going to tell you to stop feeding your child to sleep or rocking them. But if you can, I help understand that's why they might be waking, then it's a good starting point to think, okay, maybe I'll start reducing some of that to help them to sleep better. So the sleep cycles, the sciencey bit of sleep cycles, is great to understand that. Now, there is one sleep prop that is good to use. So white noise is sort of seen as a sleep prop, but it's quite helpful, and it helps to be a background absorber to noise. So whether you've got any kind of external noise that might be happening in the house, or older ones you don't want to kind of wake, or to wake your little one perhaps. And white noise can be on a conversational level in the room. You can use things like white noise machines. If you go to yogasleep.co.uk, the Marpat ones are great. Put in the code sleep time baby, you'll get 15% off, or an untuned radio or a device on your phone. Something along those lines will help you. And so the sleep props, in terms of some of them, well, one of them can be helpful. The rest of them, sometimes they can be a bit interruptive with sleep. Now, the next fundamental I wanted to talk about was the body clock. So you might have heard about the circadian rhythm. So the circadian rhythm is essentially what kind of rules our day. It's that thing that if you, before kids, if you like set your alarm for 7 o'clock every day, you might wake up at the week when you're working, in the week, you might wake up in the weekend at 7 o'clock because your body was used to it. So it's helpful in some ways, not so helpful in others perhaps. But when we talk about children's sleep, and the circadian rhythm only establishes around sort of the 6 to 10 week mark. So if you've got a newborn child, you might want to understand that their body clock isn't really fully established yet. So you might kind of just need to encourage them to take lots of daylight and perhaps kind of sleep in the light. That can help them to establish, but it's a waiting game. You can't force it to happen. Their body just needs to develop. But once it's developed, then one of the big things you can do is help them to go to bed at the same sort of time each day. You can vary it a little bit, but not massively. And if you can get them to go down at the same time, then the body will start to recognize that and will start to produce the melatonin, which will help them to feel kind of sleepy. That's the sleepy hormone, and it will help us to kind of get our little ones to settle. So it's one of those sort of slightly tricky things that we can, tricksy things, trick that we can use, that we can use to help our little ones to sleep better. There is one argument that says wake your child up at the same time every day. I'm not a massive fan of that because, it'd be nice to have a lie-in. Sometimes you'll have a latest point that you need to wake your little one up for, and that's just to help them to regulate their day. That's normally kind of 7:30, maybe 8 o'clock. But yeah, a consistent bedtime is really helpful, especially to have that body clock established. Now, The next thing to talk about is your sleep needs. So I'll be putting in my awake time and sleep needs guide. And this is the guide that kind of talks about the different age-related requirements, and they're all averages. So you must take this with a slight pinch of salt. These are the ones that you kind of want to understand that where your child's zone is. So what is your child's zone? How are they performing in that sort of world? Are they okay with their sleep? Because it doesn't need to be exact. It can just be a sense of them getting the right amount of sleep. And if your child's developing well, and if they're okay, you don't need to kind of make any major changes if they're not exactly in line with my guide. But have a look at that. There is a massive variation in terms of sleep needs. If you look at the National Sleep Foundation, they will talk about, I think it's somewhere between a 3 to 4 hour range of sleep needs at any given age. So your child could be on the low sleep need, it could be on the high sleep need. Don't try and second guess it. I think just look at your child and what they're showing you in terms of their tiredness levels within that zone that your child is in. So have a look at the guide. Once I've got it up, I'll send it into the group, I'll put it on the email and send it out to you all guys. I want to just quickly touch on environment. So I'm a massive fan of the Lullaby Trust. If you haven't looked at their information, please do go over. And they're great for kind of younger babies, but also have some information for older ones as well. Fundamentally, though, you want a clear, safe space for your little one to sleep in. Obviously, up to the age of 6 months, we're talking about sleeping in the same space, in the same room. Over that age, think about creating a fantastic dark environment for them to sleep in, a great kind of waterproof, breathable mattress. You don't need lots of teddies and confusing kind of comforters. You want to just make sure you've got that space going on. Temperature of the room, also really important. I know it's hot at the moment. Keeping the windows open and the curtains and blinds closed can help a little bit. So give that a go if you can. And darkness is definitely your friend. The Grow travel blinds are brilliant if you've got a setup whereby your windows of your child's room or your own room, if they're staying with you, has a little bit of light bleed. In fact, my son, who's now past the sleep issues, was sleeping in a little kind of box room that we had because my parents were here this weekend, which was very exciting. So he had to up sticks and move. And I was like, oh God, we've only got like slatted blinds because we don't really use this room anymore. Well, it's used as an office really, but I was like, how are we going to create darkness in here? I was like, I'll get the travel blind out, stuck it up to the window, perfect. It worked really well. So having something like that on hand to create darkness is really, really cool. And when you're on holiday, also very useful as well. So sleeping environment, one of the key kind of things to consider. And then lastly for today is going to be all about it being your journey. So I talked about at the beginning about how, I'm here to share the information with you, but it's really very much about what's right for you. So I like to take a very sort of holistic approach to kind of the people I work with or the way that I talk about sleep. You need to consider everything in the mix. There's no kind of one size fits all to this. You need to be as responsive and as caring and as loving and giving as you want to be, and what's right for you. So don't feel that anyone is judging you. I will never judge people about their sleep habits. I'm just here to kind of help and advise you along that way. But please do let me know if you've got any kind of questions, and I will happily answer them. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about kind of more detail about bedtime routines and settling. Other key kind of ones, we're talking about how to get your little one to settle and perhaps move away from some of the associations if you're looking to change them. Head on over to sleeptimeconsulting.co.uk and do drop me a line via the waiting list if you're looking for any kind of sleep help on that at all. I'm just going to check whether there was any kind of questions, whether I can see them at all. I don't think I can. It's very hard to do this when I'm in two things, but I will, if there are any questions, I'll pop in and answer them in the group, or do kind of let me know. But I will leave it as that for today, and I will be back to talk to you soon. Take care and have a lovely afternoon. Bye.